Hey everybody, welcome to the green room of DisrupTV. And of course, as you know, I'm Ray Wang, and here with my amazing co-host, co-founder, Vala Afshar, and our great producer, Elle. Importantly, we have our guests here, and we always introduce them in reverse order of appearance. So Jacqueline Carter, welcome. And what are you talking about today? And where are you coming in from?
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be able to be here today. I'm here hopefully to have a really exciting conversation about how to be more human in the age of AI.
Wow, very, very cool. We're looking forward to it. It's a big question, mission and purpose for humanity in the future. We'll find out more. Jim, welcome. Just a little bit more. Where are you coming in from? What are we talking about today? Jim Sullivan.
Yeah, good to see everybody. Calling in from Boston, Massachusetts in the Back Bay. And going to be talking about all things modern workplace and how customers are deploying, AI solutions.
Very, very cool. Huge piece of the future. Robert Glazer, welcome. Tell us more about where you're coming in from, and of course.
Yeah, I'm coming in from outside Boston, not too far from Jim, Needham, Massachusetts, and I'm going to talk about core values, how we can figure out what our core values are and use that to align our life and our leadership around them.
Well, it's awesome. You guys are all catching the Labor Day edition. If you're watching this during Labor Day, thank you. And of course, we'll turn this back to Elle for the count. Welcome, everyone.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on X at DisrupTV Show. Send Ray, myself, our distinguished guests, your questions live, and we'll do our best to answer them. It is my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO, founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I see Ray on TV every week, just about every day. CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance. He's arguably one of the top futurists to follow on X at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to DisrupTV.
Always so kind. Here's my amazing co-host, Vala Afshar. He's the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce. He's also the author of multiple books, including Boundless and a new one called Autonomous, which you should get now. And of course, it's talking about the future. Executives on the Road follow every one of his inspirational and incentive and insightful tweets. And when he's not tweeting, keynoting, or leading events at Salesforce, you can find him writing very insightful analyses on ZDNet and appearing on business TV outlets all over ABC, Bloomberg, and others. But it's not about us. It's about our amazing guests. And we have one of the most interesting folks on the list. So who do we have to kick it off today?
We do. He's like a triple threat, thought leader, CEO, incredible best-selling author. Robert Glazer is founder and chairman of the board of Acceleration Partners, a global leader in partnership marketing. Under his leadership, Acceleration Partners garnered numerous accolades, including Glassdoor's Employees' Choice Awards, Entrepreneur's Top Company Culture, Inc. Magazine's Best Place to Work, and Fortune's Best Small and Medium Workplaces. Robert himself was twice named to Glassdoor's list of top CEOs for small and medium companies in the US, and his ranking was number 2, Ray. Number 2, top CEO in the country. Robert shares his insights through Friday Forward, a weekly inspirational newsletter reaching over 200,000 readers. Ray and I are among the 200,000. Today, in fact, I received my 499th newsletter on blind accountability. And these are like long form. These are a couple of thousand words. This week's newsletter had an incredible diagram. I can't wait how he's going to up his game for the 500th episode. No pressure, Robert, for next Friday. But it's amazing. He's mentoring all of us directly. Robert also is the #1 Wall Street Journal, USA Today International Bestselling author of 7 books, including Elevate, Friday Forward, Elevate Your Team, and How to Thrive in the Virtual Workplace. Additionally, Robert hosts Elevate Podcast, the top 1% show on business performance and leadership with over 3 million downloads globally. Robert's work has been featured all the outlets you can imagine: Harvard Business Review, Today Show, Business Insider, Fast Company, Forbes, and others. He's also a TEDx speaker, speaks around the globe. His new book, which is what we're going to talk about next 20 minutes, and you can pre-order it now. It's officially available October 14th. The Compass Within, a little story about the values that guide us. Welcome back, Robert, to DisrupTV.
Thanks for having me.
I had to cut your bio short. You've done a lot.
I should have gone shorter, and you're giving me. I think Friday Forward's like 800 words. You're giving me too much credit on a couple.
I cut your bio in half.
You're just telling me, but you're just telling me the Friday Forward feels long. So I.
No. What I wanted to say, it's not like your newsletters are not like quick sound bites and.
Yeah,
it's deeply. I mean,
it's not 160 characters. Yeah.
Well, he ran an agent and he couldn't figure out how to distill it, so he came back the same number of characters or even more because it was like this was already succinct. We got to do some more here. But hey, Robert, what inspired you to write this? And I'm going to add this in the context of today's world, right? This push, this need for trust, this need for authenticity, And as I read the forward and talking about this mismatch of resonance and being able to connect with the people around you and changing yourself to be in the environment, I mean, was there a moment that got you to that point where you say, I really need to put this down on paper?
I've been working on this for a while. I figured out my sort of core values a decade ago in the way that I talk about them, sort of actionable core values, not these one word kind of integrity, family things, which don't really work. And I had been training people on them as part of leadership training and did a course and wanted to turn that kind of into a book and bring it to more people. But the sort of movement met the moment. And as you said right now, I think the authenticity people are lacking is internal. I think we've become extremely tribal, where people are doing things that don't make sense. They're saying things that don't make sense. There's a lot of pressure to join the latest team. And I think they've lost the anchoring of like, what do I value and what do I believe in? And like that really should be the foundation for almost everything they're doing, from their relationships to the community to how they lead. In fact, in leadership, I would say I've found most people lead from their values. There's just a difference. One group of people has no idea that that's going on, and the other knows what they are and understand where that's good and where that might be dangerous.
Wait, do we need to be explicit? Come on, I'm just kidding.
So I don't know. You remind me of like professional athletes who are constantly looking to improve, have coaching, have discipline, have grit. Champions aren't born; they're made in practice. Yeah. So someone who's got a #1 podcast, ranked #2 best CEO in the country, has written multiple best-selling books, and also has the discipline to write, again, long form every week for 499 weeks. Why do you do this? It must be a self-improvement regimen.
Yeah, it's become kind of a keystone habit, like the making your bed or otherwise. But honestly, these are topics that I'm interested in, and you guys have both written. And sometimes you don't realize what you clarify your thoughts by writing, right? There's an issue that you're wrestling with and talking down. I kind of know it, and it's a good forced discipline in the world of 160 characters to have to be able to make a point and make it resonant and have it hold up to scrutiny, kind of some scientific rigor. So I think it's just made me sharper. And every week I inevitably get an email saying, you said 409, this is the best one you've ever written, right? And actually it has nothing to do with that what I wrote that week. It's that message was needed by that person at that time, and it just kind of met them at the right moment to help them. And that's a great feeling.
We know your best one's going to be next week, 500. It
Yeah,
has to be.
exactly.
It has to
Yeah.
be.
Some of the ones really, I'm like, really, this wasn't my best. But again, they were, whatever it was, they were struggling with it. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I had this one that was, I heard a lot of feedback on, and you're entitled to any of your, a quote I heard from a child therapist that I thought was a good leadership tool. You're entitled to any feelings, but you're not entitled to any behavior. And one of my closest friends wrote me and he's like, dude, I've used this like 5 times in the last week. He's a doctor and the patient was, screaming at someone at the front desk. And he's like, excuse me, you are entitled to any of your emotions, but you are not entitled to any behavior. So it was funny to hear that.
That's awesome. I love that. I love when you hear back from someone that they action some of your thoughts and writing and core beliefs into how they manage themselves and the folks around them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
look,
gift.
my core purpose is to share ideas that help people, and organizations grow. And my kind of dominant core value is to find a better way and share it. So as you said, for me, that's filling my bucket, telling me that I took time and I shared this and that helped you deal with something, that day.
This is great, right? I mean, let's talk about a core value. Like, what's a core value and what's not a core value? Because I think a lot of people get confused with this, and you're really right. It's got to come from here. It's an internal thing. It's not an external feeling.
No, it's not a marketing thing. It's not something you want. So core values are simply non-negotiable principles that guide your behaviors and decisions. So they're intrinsic. They're not aspirational. When you figure out who they are, you kind of realize I've been doing this since I was 5 years old. They're consistent. They show up across all areas of work, relationships, and personal decisions, and they're clarifying. I think the most important point of a really good core value is that it helps you make better decisions about who you should spend time with, what work you should do, where you live. In my book, I talk about the big 3, which is your community, your partner, and your vocation. And so this is why a core value like integrity doesn't work. In fact, when I beat up people who say that, I'm like, tell me what you mean by integrity. And 1 or 2 layers deeper, there's a really good core value about their definition of integrity that would carry across. Similarly, when they say family, I'm like, well, how's family going to help you make a decision, in the workplace? And really for them, family means like, if I get to it, like one person, it's, hey, you just need to be there and show up. Well, then that's an important thing for them to understand how they lead or how they are with their friends. Or another person, it's like having a small group of people that you trust. Well, that again shows up totally differently in the workplace or otherwise. So almost any definition of that I have of a core value, how it can help you make a decision, the opposite of it causes discomfort. You need to know if you're doing a good job at it, cannot be fulfilled with a 1-word core value.
Got it. Toilet paper over the top, not under. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So as I'm listening to you, I realized if somebody asked me about my core values, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't think I've reflected about my own core values, prioritized them. I don't even know if that matters, prioritizing them. But,
yeah. There's a whole hierarchy thing to it, because the hardest decisions are when your own values are in conflict with each other. But Val, you'd be in the vast majority of people who fall into that. Half the people are like, I have no idea. Some others are like, I thought of it, or maybe I have a word. And 1 or 2% will say, here are my core values, like I would, in terms of saying, they're find a better way and share it, self-reliance, respectful authenticity, and long-term orientation. And you probably know your core values. I always see the analogy of like a car driving in a tunnel. If I turn off the lights, you're going to hit the wall on the right side. It's going to rub the paint and make some horrible noise. You're going to be like, oh, bad, right? And you're going to pull back to the middle. And then you're going to go to the other side. Oh, bad. So your car's going to get through the tunnel. And let's say you're driving a nice car because you guys have this show. But it's going to look like shit when it gets out on the other side. And so understanding your core values is turning on the lights and saying, look, there's the wall. There's the yellow line. Stay away from this. And by the way, here's my center lane. This is where I want to be. So a lot of us, I would say, like, and again, I have these 6 questions that start the process. You can go to robertglazer.com/6 and get the 6 questions rather than reciting all of them. But if you started to answer them, it would make sense to you. You'd be like, oh yeah, that really bothers me. But if we sat down, I did this with you, you did the work, and you knew what it was, then you could just be like, oh yeah, that person, no. Like they are a short-term orientation person and I am a long-term orientation person. I should stay away. So we just, rather than kind of having to hit the wall and know that, because when your core value is violated, it feels bad. Like it feels like kryptonite.
Oh yeah.
And once you establish your core values, are you now in a car with FSD 13? Are you in a self-driving?
Yeah, you've got LiDAR, you've got all kinds of,
okay.
You need to get LiDAR, is what he's saying.
Yeah, you're as things come up, you can very clearly sort. You can be like, oh, like, Jane drives me nuts because like she is just the opposite of like two of the things that I value. And maybe that actually makes it easier, because you have to work and you're like, look, I get it now. I understand why. And I'm not going to let it bother me. We're different, right? We have different drivers.
So this is interesting, right? Because as we get into the world of physical AI and robotics, right? And we start seeing personas and agents, right?
Yeah.
We might be designing these with different and conflicting core values. Because if you think about the distribution, the statistical distribution of like all these personalities and types of individuals, it's like literally like you're designing like game characters with different sets of values, because that's really what makes us, there's a level of diversity that makes us kind of interesting as a species.
Yeah, and look, these things are not, if it was an instruction manual that came with you, your parents would have given it to you, right? The reason why it isn't, because these things are forged usually at an early age from pretty formative experiences. And one of the other clues that you've hampered on a core value is that I have found that we are like little kids at the end of the day dealing with stuff. Most people, the core value comes from something that was really important to them as a kid and they are doubling down on, or they are running away from something that was painful or that they didn't like as fast as they can. And oftentimes their purpose as an adult comes from that pain. And if you can connect that, it's super powerful. If they're running around blind with that, it's a little bit of a mess. But I can't tell you how many I've done this work with teams over the years. I know their stories. I know about them. I know they're fighting over something as adults. They're fighting over a budget. And I know that this guy is a core value of include all perspectives and didn't feel hurt as a kid. And she grew up dirt poor and had a no waste family. And this is the core thing of this budget. She thinks that she's not listening to him and he thinks that she's terribly wasteful. Right. And like this stuff, it runs deep. And I think the leaders who figure this out, people lead from these values. It's different if you know it, right? It's different if you're me and and say, look, I'm about figuring out a better way and stuff. You probably don't want to work on my team if you're someone who wants calm and consistency and might ever say, because that's how it's always done. Because those are like fireable offenses, for me.
By going through the process of identifying deeply your core values, you're context aware, you're more self-aware, perhaps more empathetic, more relatable, more understanding of what drives people. Now, language of business is finance. Can you give us some hard data about importance of core values? What have you experienced?
Yeah. So I'm speaking to a conference of CEOs, next month on this topic, and they're going to be, I'm sure, highly skeptical, when they see this. But nearly half the employees in the U.S. and the U.K. said they're leaving their company because it doesn't exemplify their personal values or connect to it.
Wow.
Gallup did a study that said people who connect what they're doing, their work, to their personal core values are 56% more engaged. I think the NIH found that people are 35% happier when they're living by their values. And the stat that kind of blows me away, there was a study that said that leaders who talk about it live by their values. That's an important combination, because I would assume the opposite is if they talk about them and don't live by them, it's a negative. But they're 3 times more trusted by their team. So what organization couldn't benefit from that? And by the way, that 35% kind of higher happiness, like it's equivalent to some pills that people probably take looking to get happier.
I love that. Trust is a verb. It can't be, you got to do actions, not just words. Yeah. Love that. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, this is interesting, right? So how do we start this discovery process? Like, you're giving this keynote, you're with these CEOs, you walk them through a workshop. Do you make it like interactive? Do they come back and do a session with you? Like, I got a conference about 200.
Reading Compass Within.
The book is actually, I thought a core values book would be really boring. So if you've read Pat Lencioni or 5 Dysfunctions of the Team, it's a parable in which the character is going through some questionable times with his work, his partner, and his community. and he meets a mentor, and the mentor sort of coaches him through figuring out your values. And that coaching is through the framework that I've developed. Then at the end, last chapter of the book, it tells you exactly what the framework is and how to do it. So, and people who pre-register for the book, I think it was only $17. They get the course, which is a lot more for free. So, but I tell you, anyone can start with the 6 questions that's in that book and in that framework. And, I'll give you an example. And these are designed to sort of pull from like best and worst in your life and look for themes. So, in what professional jobs or roles did you do your best work? Like, who were you working with? What were you doing? What help, advice, or qualities do people come to you for, when they're looking for you? The opposite ones are interesting. The most, as I said, one of the best predictors of a core value is that the inverse like makes you feel like someone's putting nails on a chalkboard. So what qualities in other people do you really struggle with the most? So you take these 6 questions, and I've got kind of a little video at the Robert Glazer /6. I'll just explain it. And you do it on 6 pieces of paper, and you can keep doing the whole exercise. But I promise you, even if you do that part with a cup of coffee and you look across all those 6 pieces, you're going to go, like respect keeps coming up over and over again, right? Or independence. And so those, basically you start grouping those into themes, and then you run them through this core validator thing I have. And that's how you start building these values. And as I mentioned the validator before, this is kind of the 4-point test that's different from these 1 words. Can I use it to make a decision, past or present? When I imagine the opposite, does it strike a nerve? Because that means it's really, if it's violated, I have a problem. Is it a phrase rather than a word? And can I objectively rate myself on it?
Wow.
This is awesome. I want to check out the validator. Robert, if you're free, week of October 20th, I'll give you a call.
Let's do it. I'm having a lot of fun helping people figure this out. And when I watch the light bulb go on and they go, oh, like that's why I love this job or hate this job. Or recently was doing it in a leadership capacity with someone who was going through a divorce, figured out her core values. She's like, oh, my ex was just the opposite of 2 of these. And I was like, well, that's not a surprise. That's really hard.
Congratulations on what's going to be another bestseller, Robert. And thanks for your religious commitment to educating us on a weekly basis. So thank you for all that you do.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for all your support on this show and through the newsletter, and would love to have anyone join. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Robert Glazer, founder and chairman of the board of Acceleration Partners, and of course, a multiple Wall Street Journal best-selling author. Elevate, Friday Forward, How to Thrive in the Virtual Workplace, and of course, this new book, The Compass Within. So, hey, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
October 14th. You can order now. Cheers. He's super gracious in terms of shared wisdom. And it doesn't surprise me he was ranked number 2 CEO, because the best CEOs I know are givers. No exception with our next guest. Jim Sullivan is president and CEO of NWN, a leading AI-powered technology solutions provider in North America for thousands of public and private sector organizations. Over the past 6 years, Jim has transformed NWN to a national technology powerhouse with over 1,000 employees, delivering over $1 billion in revenue in sales. The company has consistently been recognized as best place to work and the fastest growing company in Inc. 5000. Jim has also been recognized twice by Ernst Young as an entrepreneur of the year finalist and one of Boston Magazine's 150 most influential Bostonians. I'm not even in the top 10,000. Jim is top 150. That's amazing. With more than 30 years of enterprise technology industry experience, Jim has proven track record of scaling both emerging and established companies. Prior to NWN, Jim served as president of Actifio from February 11 to May 2019, driving the cloud software company to a unicorn evaluation of over $1.3 billion with more than 3,500 global customers and a 50% CAGR, which ultimately led to a successful acquisition by the small company you may have heard of, Google, in December.
Were they again?
Welcome, Jim, to DisrupTV.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Great to see you.
Great to have you.
Hey, we're really excited to talk to you. Right, we're seeing a revolution in AI, and more importantly, it's really changing what the digital employee experience is going to look like. When we think about this next group of managers, they may be the last generation of managers to ever manage just people only. And this digital experience and this digital workplace is changing rapidly. What are your companies seeing? What are they asking for AI to do when they want to transform this digital employee experience?
I think there's going to be two constituencies for companies, right? There's going to be your employees and how you have the right, modern workplace, the right experience for your employees, and also what's going to be the experience for your customers, right? And so there's going to be different outcomes, business outcomes for each constituency, but ultimately, I think the opportunity for AI is to enhance those type of opportunities, whether it's for employees that they get, a digital assistant, a virtual assistant, or for your customers where they can have a better experience engaging with your company, whether that's learning about the products faster, getting answers to questions faster, or the ability to kind of just engage in a buying cycle, and it's going to be a much easier, better experience, overall. So I think it goes hand in hand. We have 6,000 customers in the U.S. and we're really seeing customers on one side experiment with different pilots for how AI can drive the right outcome, and then clearly we're driving real deployments in certain areas on both sides that are real ROI, really good experience, and it's kind of happening sooner than later.
Yeah, I spoke to a CFO of a large Boston-based company, technology company, billions in revenue, and the CFO said, "I really believe that we're underhyping AI in business. I'm seeing tangible results. My cohorts of CFOs are sharing tangible results in sales, service, marketing, all key functions within business." At NWN, when you're engaged with CEOs, and I just saw top 10 top priorities of CEOs, it was a global survey, and growth was number one, technology was number two, and technology, it was about 30% higher in ranking from the previous year, 2024. So it's on a trajectory to potentially be number one above growth, and it's driven by hyper automation and AI. As you're consulting with other CEOs, tell us about the conversations you're having, and what are some of the hesitancies that they may have, and this overall sense of urgency where this has now become a boardroom discussion. CEOs are expected to educate the board on their AI strategy.
Yeah, I think this with AI, right? And I think AI has been around, automation's been around for a while, AI has been around for a while, as you guys know, right? I think the new one here is really generative AI, like ChatGPT, or different functions that are grounding, that this workforce of what's sort of really rallying this. I think the number one thing that we're seeing is really the kind of growth of intelligent virtual agents, right? Kind of the artists formerly known as chatbots. Now, when the customer's data, gets lined up with the right intelligent virtual agent, and we're seeing it on the customer experience side, where when customers are engaging, with any type of vendor, the better that experience can be. Like, I can get the information, I can get the right help. That's a really faster, better experience for people. And then from the customer perspective, here's like they're getting it much faster. They're getting costs are better, margins are better. And so it does lead to growth, it does lead to profitability, but ultimately the outcome is better customer experience, better retention of customers. And so that's sort of the number one area. The last 18 months, we've been seeing real deployments, across the board. And it's not just commercial accounts. There's a lot of state and local municipalities trying to have really improved constituency experience as well. And so that's been really, really fun to watch, and great to be doing these deployments.
Let's talk about one of the industries you guys are in, which is really in sports, we're thinking and entertainment. What does that mean? How does it change the employee experience as organizations get more digitized, as they're thinking about how AI surfaces up additional information and insight, how it changes staffing levels? Like, what happens in sports and entertainment as a vertical?
I think as a vertical, it kind of comes back down to the fan experience, right? But it also might be the player experience. So I think, as you guys know, we've been a really strong partner and supplier to the Kraft Group and the New England Patriots, right? And there's a few different phenomenons going on, right? There's one, you have this really high demand for having the best experience, and some of that starts with just the basic infrastructure, networking, Wi-Fi. So when people are showing up, you have really great connectivity that's driving a lot of these different types of applications, right? Then you go kind of number two, and people want to have access to the data real time around their experience, how to get to the stadium, how to find the right areas of where your seats are, have the right experiences around, where you can get, whether you're buying, some swag, of the Patriots jersey, or trying to find the right food. I mean, all of that being at the access of your phone, and driving that kind of data and that experience. I think where it goes is you just continue to automate more of that. So you have an easy access to be able to get to the stadium, easy access, with security built in to get into the stadium, and then have things like, facial recognition and a digital wallet that you can really, kind of have all those right, experiences, right? And so for professional football, as an example, you have, 8 games a year, and people kind of, big groups of people kind of coming in, but they're doing an event almost every day of the year down at Gillette, right? And I think the really interesting thing kind of coming up, which is more impetus for growth, is, FIFA's coming in next year with the World Cup in the United States, and hosting one World Cup game is the equivalent of hosting one Super Bowl, right? So then you have people coming in that's going to be, let's say for for Gillette, it's probably going to be a lot of European teams. For Miami, it's going to be a lot of South American teams, right, or teams from Mexico. And so the ability to have people kind of coming in, and they can find the stadium, they can take the train that they're used to. Things are multilingual. They kind of have the right type of access, but just the volume of infrastructure demand required to support that is also, you can't go through, any of the losing any of those basic fundamental infrastructure areas there, but then all of it having to map into the right data.
Listening to Jim, I'm reminded of how incredibly challenging and rewarding it is to support the Kraft Group, because they are arguably the most innovative sports ownership entities in the world. 1995, the Kraft Group launched the first ever website for sports ever, all sports, not just NFL, but all major sports. Michael Israel is an incredible, innovative CIO who's there. Jonathan Kraft served as the chairman of the NFL Technology Committee for years. In fact, in 2011, the Patriots placed high-definition cameras around the field, and 75,000 fans on their mobile devices could follow the quarterback, could follow the coach. They had the same in-home experience on the couch, rewinding plays on their mobile apps. That was millions of dollars of infrastructure investments just to bring mobility to the phone. And so the Kraft Group is the first podcast in sports, the first social networking presence in sports. So if you're a partner with them, you are operating at a level unlike anyone in sports. So Jim, you've been, like Ray and I, you've witnessed the cloud revolution, the mobile revolution, the social revolution, the data revolution. Is AI the biggest thing that we'll see in our lifetime? Will this have the biggest impact where, when my son and I go to opening game on September 8th, I believe, can I at some point point my camera to a player on the field and get all the Panini sports cards that I want to trade, maybe do some online gambling, like computer visioning, all that streaming to my device, all that contextual intelligence? Is the fan experience about to hit an incredible wall of innovation unlike anything we've experienced in the past?
Well, I mean, I've been in IT for 40 years, right, and have been very blessed with a lot of all these great cycles of witnessing it even before cloud, right? I think is it the biggest? I think it's definitely the next thing, and there's a lot of opportunity for value that builds on all these things we have in place today, right? And things like generative AI, really enables the ability to be, faster with the data, faster as an assistant for employees, and then an opportunity to just have, more enhanced experiences, whether it's in the sports world or it's in the business world or anything you're kind of interacting with. I think it's going to be, really good. You can see the infrastructure is building now from a lot of the, large language model companies, right? You can see, you'll see, I think, a lot of applications, just like we saw in the app economy, building on cloud, kind of building on type of that infrastructure. And we're barely in the first inning, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. There's no question. We're on the front lines of this. Like NWN has been helping customers, listening to customers, doing the pilots, but actually doing real deployments. So it is really critical to, what business outcome you're trying to drive. How do you line up the data and map the data to these types of applications? And then, it's going to be overall enhanced experiences really, really everywhere. And you mentioned the Kraft Group and Michael Israel. I mean, they're an incredible partner, but they've been leading and innovating for a long time. And so we're very grateful to be, a partner in supporting all that. And I think it'll be a lot of opportunity to continue to enhance the fan experience, also enhance their employee experience and enhance the player experience. Like they do a lot to give their players and coaches the right type of tools, the right data, to be as competitive as possible. So it's
not easy servicing a dynasty. They're not easy company to partner with because they're so demanding. They're so forward looking. They're literally champions of technology, and they treat the players on the field just like they treat the IT staff. So you have to have certain pedigree and caliber of excellence. Maybe this is why you've had 4 years of being named the fastest growing private company, because obviously you're running your team with do your job and get that ball punched into the end zone. So.
It's a like I said, a great group to be part of, and really, really appreciative and grateful to be able to support them. And we also have 6,000 other customers in multiple industries, and a lot of similar or types of innovation. And a lot of times we're bringing a lot of knowledge to the table to help customers be successful, or we're getting great takeaways ourselves of incredible organizations like the Kraft Group that we're learning something from, and then supporting that, but then continue to apply that to other organizations around the country.
That's awesome.
So Jim, it's 2035. We're looking 10 years out, right? We walk into an office, we walk into a building. What are the things that look different to you? Like, what are the expectations? What have changed? Like, what are people's things? Like, like if you go back in go back like 30 years ago, people wouldn't expect, doors that open on their own, right? The ability to get into elevators where you enter the floor you're going to, right? Like things like that. Like put on your visionary futurist hat. Like what's it like when you walk into an office? Are we even in an office? Like, what's that kind of
hey, we've been at the forefront of the modern workplace.
Yep.
And remote work, hybrid work, and we just have seen an incredible inflection of these types of hybrid work and modern work technologies that we're all experiencing. So that was, I think, a major inflection point that we just had, right? But if you want to go on to 2035, I think it'll be more and more seamless. That the experience, like the perfect experience you have with digital transformation of no matter where you are, the experience is great. And I believe everyone will have their own type of virtual assistant or intelligent virtual agent that's highly customized to that person. and their experiences and tied in with security. And so the ability, whether it's, on your phone or in your hand, the ability to kind of have easy access, the right experience, and then having an assistant that's a digital assistant that knows your data, securing your data. And so anything in your work life, personal life, really well blended, and having all this technology really be seamless and really fast and really smart and really just customized to your world and your experience. Might be earlier than 2035, but I think that's definitely going to be the opportunity.
Jim, that's
Let's
awesome.
just hope Ray doesn't replace me with an agent by 2035 I know
hopefully I said assistant. I didn't say like completely.
Right.
It's 2035, Vala. You're living in Concord, New Hampshire. You get into your car with a bed, right, at 2 a.m. You wake up in New York.
Yes.
You wake up in New York, right? Everything's ready. Your agent's done the work.
And NWN is now 14-year consecutive fastest growing, 10 more years of fast growth.
So this opportunity, it is a huge opportunity. It's about a $2 trillion market in North America, and NWN's a good bit over $1 billion now, and so there's a lot of opportunity for growth for sure.
That's awesome.
Congratulations on being
crushing
on
it.
5,000 list of fastest growing private companies for the 4th consecutive year. We are here with one and only Jim Sullivan, the CEO of NWN. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jim. Congrats.
Thanks, guys. Great seeing you. Thanks for the time.
Cheers. That's 2 back-to-back successful CEOs. And this is because we've been using sports analogies. I'm just going to continue it. This is like the cleanup hitter spot where our final guest comes in and hits a grand slam, brings it all home, and everyone's so happy entering their long weekend. Jacqueline Carter, More Human, How the Power of AI Can Transform the Way You Lead. What an important topic. Jacqueline is the managing partner at Potential Project. She's a leadership development and corporate culture expert who helps global companies create more human world of work. Jacqueline is co-author of the most recent book, More Human, How the Power of AI Can Transform the Way You Lead, Compassionate Leadership, How to Do Hard Things in a Human Way, The Mind of a Leader, How to Lead Yourself, Your People, and Your Organization for Extraordinary Results, and finally, 1 Second Ahead, Enhance Your Performance at Work with Mindfulness. For the last decade, 4 books, sure to be bestseller with the most recent book. Ray, you and I need to step up our game. My imposter syndrome.
No, I need to step up my game. You're already there, man.
In addition, Jacqueline writes for leading publication, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, American Management Association, Fast Company, Business Insider, and more. Jacqueline has worked across industries with top companies, including these small companies you may have heard of, like Cisco, Disney, Accenture, your Royal Bank of Canada, to navigate the challenge of leadership and successfully implement complex changes for large organizations. Jacqueline, welcome to DisrupTV.
Thank you so much, guys. It's really great to be here.
Great to have you.
We're excited to have you here, and I think this is going to be a conversation we'll be having for the decades.
Yes.
How can AI make leaders more human? What is authenticity? Where do we sit in there? But let's start with the basic thing. I mean, is AI going to make us more like robotics? Are we going to sit all in the average? Or will we actually find our humanity, our purpose, really, and develop an agency towards there?
Yeah, Ray, I think that's such a great question, and it is the right place to start. Because the key thing is, I think it can go either way, right? And I think the key thing is that we need, as human beings, we need to make sure that we're in the driver's seat of this technology. We are looking at a future where we could be all managed by AI agents or replaced completely. Or we could look at a future of work where we're actually able to elevate human potential, where we're able to be more creative, where we're able to really look at being the best versions of ourselves. And the key thing is the choice is up to us. And I think that over the next, 3 to 5 years, this is a real inflection point, and specifically for leaders in terms of what kind of future do we want to create? What kind of workplaces do we want to create? Now is the time to really make sure that we're taking charge and really setting a clear path forward in terms of how we integrate AI into the workplace.
Jacqueline, that's actually the crux of the argument, right? Are we pushing for centralized scarcity, which is a lot of command and control, or are we looking for decentralized abundance? It's an interesting way that you're framing this.
Yeah, well, and I think, Ray, the other aspect of it is I think right now, every organization is looking at ways to be able to introduce AI and looking at getting a return on investment. And we think that it's really the wrong way to look at it, because what we really should be looking at is when we're able to leverage AI to be able to save time, what's the transferable value that we can get? Not just more efficient, because if we try to have human beings compete with AI on speed and knowledge, human beings will lose. But what we can do is we can look at that transferable value. What can that human do that AI can't do, that before that human didn't have the time to do? And now we have this new opportunity to be able to re-look at human potential in the workplace.
I like the kind of the statement of fact that I don't hear enough, that don't make this into a race.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to speed, scale, intelligence, you can't compete. It's just, you can't compete. So you have to really understand, and you're right about entering the age of augmentation, and the both/and leader. Talk to us about, and I like the word augmentation more than artificial. I wish it was called, and this is a paper, Dartmouth College, 1957. I wish the author said augmented intelligence, because I really prefer that word. But can you talk to us about what you mean by that?
Oh my God,
yeah,
John.
Absolutely. Maybe just to give you a little bit of background on the research that we did, we interviewed over 100 C-suite executives. We talked to many tech executives. We're still in ongoing conversations. And we really wanted to look at this from a research perspective. So we collected a ton of data. And what was really interesting is a number of interesting things that we found. One of the things is that 87% of leaders feel that AI is going to be critical to support their leadership in the future, but only 8% actually feel ready to be able to leverage the benefits of AI and overcome the risks. And when we look at that in terms of, well, what does that actually mean? And this was one of the key insights from our research, is that although many people are afraid of AI, afraid of it replacing their jobs, afraid of it in so many different ways, afraid of existential crisis in terms of it knows more than I do, will I be relevant in the future? But the key thing, and it's exactly that, what we found was the paradox of AI is that it actually can help us to be more human. And it's really, as you said, it's through that idea of augmentation. And what we found in our research is that AI, because it is modeled and developed to reflect human intelligence, including human emotions and humans' patterns of behavior, if we're intentional about how we engage with AI, it can be a 1 + 1 = 3. It can enable us to be able to not only get the best of our own mind, but also the best of the machine. And I can talk more specifically about what we found in terms of the key qualities to be able to do that. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So specifically, when we looked at it, if we're going to get the best of mind, we need to start out with a simple understanding of the human mind. And regardless of what theory of mind you use, there's 3 things that we all do. First, we perceive, then we discern, and then we respond. And our research and our expertise over the last 15 years is really focused on leadership. And when we look at what are those elements of mind that a leader needs to do, from a perceptual capacity, we need to be aware. Leaders need to be aware of what's going on around them in terms of the market, in terms of the customers, in terms of their people. And they also need to be aware of what's going on internally. How am I feeling? Am I in the right frame of mind to have this conversation? So that's really the first capacity of mind, which is awareness. The second, that discerning capability of mind, is really about wisdom. And this is specifically in the age of AI. It's not about knowledge, it's because, again, we don't want to compete there. But wisdom is really about knowing the right thing to do and having the courage to be able to do it. Critical for discernment, for critical thinking, for leaders. And finally, in terms of the responsive capacity, for leaders, it's really about compassion, which we define as being able to do hard things, but do them in a human way. And that's really what leaders need to do. And especially in this age of AI, where we need to manage major transformation, we need to be able to support people to feel connected in an overly ongoing, more disconnected world. And so these are the key things that we see. So awareness, wisdom, and compassion. And what we found in our research is that AI can actually help to augment our awareness. It can help to augment our wisdom, and it can help to augment our compassion if we use it in the right way. And the key thing when I say in the right way is to look at it not from a competitive perspective, but from an awareness perspective. What are humans really good at? Humans are really good at setting context. AI is amazing at content, and that helps us to augment our awareness. On the wisdom side, human beings are amazing at being able to ask good questions, that critical thinking aspect. AI can give us great answers, and then we can question those answers again with that wisdom. And from a compassion perspective, human beings are amazing at leading with heart, to be able to make people feel seen and heard and build trust and create psychological safety, and all of those things that we know generate fantastic performance. And AI has amazing algorithms that can help us to be able to navigate the emotional landscape of leading other human beings, to be able to help us to be able to even better elevate our compassion in a challenging work environment.
Oh, this
You
is
just
great.
gave us like a 5-minute TED talk. That was awesome. That was so clear and so concise and on point. That was awesome. Yeah, thank you.
No, that is awesome. And more importantly,
Wow.
you know, that's awareness, right? Now let's talk about AI and mindfulness. Actually, no, just
Yeah.
kidding. But if we did AI and mindfulness, I think you should find some of the similar things as well that are going there. But you know, in your book, you'll notice something that says that I thought was interesting. Employees actually prefer imperfect human leaders. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't you want your leaders to be consistent and always logical and fair and all those kind of things?
Yeah, I think that this is also, I think, another really hopeful aspect of looking at AI. And maybe I'll just give you an example. You know, probably all of us and listeners out there, all of us have probably received an email that that person didn't write it. It's perfectly, the grammar is perfect. It has, maybe it even says, Ray, you're looking so nice today. And you say that, Val, that's just not the way he talks to me on a daily basis.
Ray's look.
Exactly. And so
that's when the language model hallucinated big time.
Exactly.
Massive hallucination.
So this is the thing that we know human beings actually, and that was one of the key things that we did find in our research, is that we prefer an imperfect but authentic leader than a perfect AI. And I think that what's a really interesting, one of the other aspects that we're seeing is I think we're seeing, kind of a revolution of being able to be imperfect. Like, every once in a while, throw in a spelling mistake in one of your emails. That way somebody will know that was really you. I know that, and so I think we should really, and this is, I think, one of the key things is in this age of AI, we should really celebrate our humanity. We are imperfect, we're vulnerable, we make mistakes. And that's what makes us uniquely human. And those are things that we can really celebrate, so long as we can be vulnerable and, as you said, Ray, authentic about it.
I want to share an internal data point, which and maybe a question will come out of it. Just bear with me for a sec. So I work at a company that's nearly 80,000 employees. And for the last 90 days, we've been looking at job movements within the company.
Yeah.
And we have this agent, it's a career agent. And the career agent has been guiding our employees in terms of, these are the skills you have, these are the badges you've earned through our gamified learning platform. This is the next position for you in terms of a step function improvement in compensation and responsibility. And then the agent defines the gap that you have, skills gap, recommends online courses that we offer for free, and also our partner ecosystem of learning institutions. And so in the last 90 days, 1 in 5 shifts in jobs at my company have been guided by an agent.
Wow.
And it seems like the digital native population, digital native. I'm a digital immigrant. I wasn't born mobile, social, cloud, but my 22-year-old daughter and my 19-year-old and my 50, they're digital natives. They consume all the entertainment on their phone. Everything is social. They have probably a dozen generative AI applications on their phone. I only have like 6 or 7. So I can't even compare. They're in a different world. So we were just talking about leadership and preference for human leaders. But it seems like when it comes to career pathing, the digital natives are comfortable having a conversation with an agent who's giving them super actionable, super contextual, super relevant guidance.
Yeah.
So that 20% of movement in the company is guided now by an agent.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the key thing is for us to look at, what does AI do really well? And that's a fantastic example, like the ability to be able to scan all potential job opportunities, look at your career path, be able to match, especially then to be able to match potential training opportunities, data analytics, synthesizing information, personalizing it based on you and where you're at in your career. Those are all things that AI does really well. And those are things, those are great. Lift those from a leader's responsibility, because honestly, leaders are crap at those things, right? I mean, like, That's just too much.
You said what I was thinking. You said what I was thinking.
No, exactly, right? No, again, don't compete with AI. But the thing is, and this is even, if you go back, your 22-year-old, we are seeing right now where organizations are broadly implementing AI, that people are feeling less connected. Because although, yes, it's true that, you can find better job opportunities through that AI agent, somebody who is actually going to make you feel connected to the organization, somebody that's going to say, you did a really good job. I really liked how you did that. Or here's how what you're doing matters to our future. Or you know what, Vala, we got to have one of those conversations because here's some feedback that I think is going to really help you. It's probably not something you're going to like to hear, but I'm going to actually have a conversation with you because I care about you and because I really see your potential in this organization. And no AI agent is going to be able to have those kinds of conversations with the kind of impact to be able to support people to feel connected to the organization, feel supported, and actually want to stay and feel like they have growth potential.
Awesome answer. So what you're saying is you can have a sense of belonging, but that doesn't automatically mean sense of mattering. And it's that human touch that's going to give you both the sense of belonging and mattering.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is also the AI is designed to please. When AI tells you, hey, these are your career opportunities, there's things that it's probably not telling you, right? And I think that's the other thing is that if we really want to be able to have it, same thing, like AI can be in a pocket coach for leaders. Fantastic.
Sure.
But it's AI only tells you is a mirror of what you've told it. What about your blind spots? Well, that's where you need a human being that's going to have that conversation with you and say, yeah, you haven't told your AI chatbot these things, but here's some things I think you might be missing. And that's really only, again, human beings have that greater context, that greater awareness to be able to support you much better in your career and your development.
Makes sense.
It's really important. One of the things we tell everyone when they're doing AI is you can assume everything's going to be automated, but the most important decision is when and where you insert a human, because that's really where it's going to distinguish whether it's your brand or your process or how you express empathy. What do you have to do in terms of understanding how people are actually going to interact with your organization, especially in a digital workplace. So when you think about it that way, I mean, how do you actually build that into the leadership mindset, the culture of an organization? Because we're used to actually having humans. Now we're going to be flipping around to we're used to being automated, and when we put it in. So are you guiding folks in a certain way to get them there?
Yeah, I think that there are critical mindsets like curiosity, mindsets like integrity, mindsets like adaptability, mindsets like beginner's mind, mindsets like just being able to be present, to be able to have context. So I think that these are things, and these are all trainable skills that we can help leaders to be able to develop. At the same time, I think that one of the things that we really have to recognize when you talk about, when should we use AI, when should we not use AI? Many people are asking what AI can do for me, not enough are asking what AI might do to me. And what we see conclusively from a research perspective is that overuse of AI, people start to lose their ability for critical thinking, right? Or, if I get AI to write my next book for me, then I'm not actually, developing the thinking process, the creativity, all of those things. I'm less engaged, I'm less motivated, and it's poorer quality. So I think one of the things is we really need to help leaders, and then leaders need to help their teams think carefully. Yes, you can get AI to write that email or write that report, but maybe you want to write it yourself and then get AI to be a coach to help you enhance it so that you are actually developing the thought process, struggling with the words, struggling with the ideas, because that's what's going to enable you to get better as opposed to just supplementing your work and offloading it to AI, which is not going to be good for anybody.
I love it. Hidden in that was sage advice. Growth comes through intentional struggles. So
exactly. Only growth only comes.
Honestly, I try to, as the digital immigrant dad, I try to remind my children of that if everything is super, I tell them, if you want a simple life, work on harder problems. But nobody listens. You're never king of your own kingdom. Nobody listens to dad. So maybe some. By the way, Jacqueline, grand slam. All your answers were home runs. Thank you so much for your shared wisdom, and congrats on, seems like every 2 years a bestseller. So yeah, you're super busy.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Lovely to chat with you.
We're Jacqueline Carter, co-author of More Human, How the Power of AI Can Transform the Way You Lead. Get it on Amazon, of course, where books are sold, and another great book from HBR Press. So thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Cheers. You know, I'm thinking, Ray, that if I had a career agent 10 or 11 years ago advised me to pursue digital evangelism, I would have deleted the app. I would have said, this is hallucinating and it has toxicity and biases. Get out of here. And, you know, it would have been the worst decision of my life. So,
anyway, you got to imagine the jobs of the future. I mean, we've got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. So, imagine what forward-looking language model trained apps are going to guide our children to pursue. So it's going to be incredible. Summarize, we had two incredible CEOs, two incredible authors. Can you, in 30 seconds, summarize the show for us, please? This is my ChatGPT version 6 that I'm trying to show you with Ray.
Well, I think with Robert, what's important here is like humanity is going to have to come to grasp as to, you know, how you make decisions, what your values are. It's going to become even more clear as to what that means. We are looking for authentic leaders. We are looking for folks, you know, to be able to make those decisions. But I think the more clarity we have in the workforce, the more clarity employees have and leaders have, I think it's going to be easier for people to understand context and to build an understanding and empathy in leadership that's so missing today. A lot of people are followers. I always call them sheep. A lot of people are actually leading, but it's when you don't understand the conflict, that's where you have issues inside an organization. I think it was interesting watching Jim talk about what's happening with the digital workplace and where we're going. We've gone from, you know, work from home to return to office, but what we've learned along the way is that there's all these different tools and techniques that will change that experience. And so it's the digital workplace, or whether it's fan experience, you're definitely seeing options and improvements in terms of like how we work. As we get more digitized, we have more options to create more personalization and create more choices in the office. And of course, Jacqueline just had a really good point here, really about, you know, we keep worrying about, I mean, you know, Paul Doherty wrote the book Human and Machine, also endorsed the book here for Jacqueline. But the point being is, like, you know, the question is, how do we become more human? And AI does free up that time. I was spending some time talking to some folks at a conference here in Las Vegas, and someone said something very astute. They said, because all the things you were doing before took up so much time, you didn't have time to think about all the new things you want to do. And so all the people that are worried about job loss are missing the point. Like all the people living those beautiful Insta lives, like, you know, everyone has a dog groomer or some of the rearrange your closets or something like that, like the Marie Pendo life. Those might all come to life because we now have more free time. And so we're going to want more things, create more things. And of course, this is, you know, in the enterprise sense and leadership sense, you know, we might find more of our humanity along the way with AI. So back to you, Val.
ChatGPT 6.0. That was awesome. Thank you for the summary. Okay, folks, thank you again for tuning in. Next week, due to travel and other business commitments, unfortunately, we're not going to have Disrupt next week, but we'll be back September 12th for episode 410. Angela Brescia, CEO of Snyder's, Synderis. Steve Ryan, Deputy Counsel of the President's Commission on Organized Crime, directing investigation against La Costa Nostra and other criminals. So we're going to have an incredibly president-appointed commissioner on our show. Dr. David Bray, Distinguished Chair of the Accelerator, Stimson Center, and Principal and CEO of LDA Ventures will be on our show. You're all familiar with Dr. Bray. He's got, maybe if it was a Saturday Night Live 5 appearance jacket, he's got probably 4 of those jackets. And of course, we have lastly, Ken Banta, founder, CEO of the Vanguard Network and author of Seeing Around the Corners. If it's Friday, it's DisrupTV. Thank you for tuning in. Please continue to recommend guests for our show. We're booked for the next couple of months, but we'll do our best to get them in there this calendar year. If you can provide our producer, L, your recommendations via X or LinkedIn. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.